Welcome to Bridges. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you've been with us the past few shows, you know that we are taking these mornings on Bridges to introduce you to those folks who want to be the mayor of the city of Toledo. We think it's important for you to meet these folks, find out what they're all about, and how they're going to change this city. Today, we are introducing you to independent candidate for mayor, Alan Cox.
Good morning.
It's so nice to have you with us today.
I am very thankful to be here.
Good. You're working hard, I hear, getting those signatures.
Working very hard, yes.
That's good.
Yes, we're done with the signatures here, and so now we'll know the truth. It's just a matter of getting certified.
Okay, we're crossing our fingers that you're going to get certified.
Thank you so much. So am I.
So let's introduce you to the folks a little bit. We've got a little bit of your resume that we'd like to show people. You are a graduate of Start High School. You received your Bachelor's of Science from the University of Toledo. You've worked in the field of finance for 38 years, and 23 of those years with the City of Toledo?
Correct.
Okay, you're president of AFSCME Local 2058, and you've also been an employee of the city for 23 years. So
Correct.
The whole time that you've worked there, you've worked in finance. Is that correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Great. That's a pretty impressive background when you're looking at managing the finances of a city the size of Toledo.
Well, and that's what gives me a slightly different insight from some of the others that have been in this position over the last 20 years as a strong mayor under our strong mayor form of government.
You know, what I found was interesting, and I want to tell you folks, you need to go to Alan's website, and we'll give you that information before the end of the show. It's really informative in terms of what Mr. Cox brings to this discussion and how Mr. Cox intends to move forward. I'd like to show you, if we could, just a couple of his principles that form the foundation of this campaign. You really want to bring more professionalism to this whole structure of managing the city, and a whole lot less politics, and more efficiency through better stewardship. In your perspective, this is about service. It is not at all about politics.
Correct.
Really?
Well, there is politics involved. I mean, even in the private sector, you have politics within a business environment. But the politics has gotten in the way of having our strong mayor form of government work effectively, because they don't seem to have the same kind of management and leadership approach that someone like me, who studied that and tried to really improve my background in that. And that's the problem. That's why I'm also talking about trying to go back to the city manager form of government.
All right, two pretty provocative points there. So let's take the first one first, your first one first.
Right.
How would you be different? How would you be a different leader than what you've seen so far?
Even just as you look at the mayor and how he interacts with the council, it's so much politics rather than two forms of government, two parts of government working together to come up with solutions. We are all supposed to be serving the citizens, so how can we be so different and so fixed in our attitudes on some of these things?
But isn't your presumption then that that relationship is entirely controlled or predominantly controlled by the mayor?
No, I think I've certainly seen city council try and address certain agendas, and the mayor may be cooperative or not. But the mayor is the primary legislative person. Well, no, I shouldn't say that. I mean, the council does the legislation. They approve the legislation. But the administration is supposed to be sort of forming and structuring that legislation. What's needed? They're supposed to be overseeing the operations of the city.
So you'd be easier to get along with. You would get to yes faster or more efficiently.
I think so.
In leadership.
People have told me that I would make a good mediator. That's something I should consider in my retirement, which is still a few years off.
Yeah.
But that tells me that people recognize me as someone who listens well, listens to the different sides, and then tries to pull people together to find the commonalities that we can work on so that we're getting to a better, acceptable yes quicker and more easily.
Mm-hmm. You think that's lacking?
I've certainly seen it enough times where it goes a way that it shouldn't.
And is that essential in order to govern the city, though?
If you're
things get done whether council and the mayor approve. Whether council and the mayor get along.
But are they the right things? And that's what we've really got to look at. I've certainly seen situations that never should have gone the way that they did.
Like what?
Well, for one, in fact, it's interesting, I actually got disciplined for it. If you look at the steam plant, and where that was years ago, and at that time they were talking about residential and commercial, and I tried to talk to city council, and they wouldn't listen to it. They didn't want to hear the facts of it, even though I'm a professional who has some good insights to that. And instead of them looking at somebody who was trying to help them evaluate the pros and cons, they saw it as an employee trying to interfere with the city operations. I thought we were all in this together, and that isn't the way it worked.
So why'd you get disciplined?
Because I had recommended to City Council, and because I'm a city employee that is communicating with City Council, even though I did it as a private citizen, I provided information because I have a housing background, I have a financial background, and I asked them to look at the aspects of that because I thought they were making a bad decision. They wanted to go all commercial. And it was an opportunity to put some great housing right in a critical area of downtown. And they missed the boat, and look at where we're at now.
So what would you do then if you were in a position where council absolutely did not agree with something that you wanted to do as mayor?
I'd want to find out why, and find out why they think it's inappropriate. And hopefully that means that I will learn some things. And then we'll start talking about, okay, what are the critical aspects of it? Trying to get them to hear my part of it after I've made it clear to them that I understand where they're at.
But you do concede the point that there will be times that you and council would not get along.
Absolutely.
And that you would have to override.
There are bound to be
decisions.
times where we will have to agree to disagree.
Okay, you just think it could be done better than it's being done right now.
I know it can be.
You know it can be.
I know it can
yeah,
be.
okay.
Sure.
All right. But while talking about how to make the relationship in the mayor's office better, you also are strongly supporting bringing back the city manager form of government.
Correct.
Why?
There are a couple of strong reasons for that. City manager is a professional that gets hired. He has to have a background in understanding management and leadership. He is hired by City Council. That makes City Council more accountable so that they can't just play the political game and saying, oh, well, it's because we don't agree. This is the person that they are saying they want to see running the city government, and so they are going to take a more vested interest, and they should be working more closely together with that person. You would still have the representative mayor, but this is the person that's making these decisions, hiring the people, making sure that we're getting qualified people into those positions rather than the political appointments that I've seen an awful lot of over the last several years.
Well, but how do you protect a political system from political influence? I mean, it is, even if you have a city manager in that position, it is still the business of politics down there. Your city council people are still going to be elected. People are still open to influence. So I'm not quite sure how supplanting the mayor's position with someone else who will develop his own list of I owe you because types of things. I don't quite know how that makes a difference if the mayor is doing a good job in managing the city.
Because the mayor is someone who's elected, and so you're hearing all the comments, and we're making all of the great promises to the citizens. That's a much different political process than somebody who has to be accountable and to answer to the citizens when something isn't done in a timely manner, when we start putting off and procrastinating things like the water rec plant that was waited too long to do that. And we decided to fight the Ohio EPA rather than to work with them. Now we've got the water treatment plant that we kept avoiding.
And you think all of that gets cured with changing the position from a mayor to a city manager?
It gets improved.
Gets improved.
And that's the important part of it.
Okay. All right, you've got some pretty impressive priorities in your campaign. I'd like folks to take a look at this. The first one I think is pretty interesting. You want to put yourself out of work pretty quickly if you're elected. You want to have get the city manager position on the ballot. You want to right-size city staffing. That's interesting. We've had several people come on and say that. Reducing excessive management. You want to provide sufficient resources for fire and police operations. Reduce excessive budget cushions. You must know a little bit about that.
I do.
And the double dipping sort of thing, the retire, rehire kind of practice. Can we go through those sort of one at a time?
Sure.
We've talked a bit about the city manager piece. So let's go to the right sizing of city government. What makes you think that that needs to occur?
I know it does because of that fact that we do have so many that have been added to management and exempt levels during the time of the strong mayor form of government. If people look at my website and the Facebook page, we've added 94 exempt and management people and lost 255 frontline employees, the kinds that provide the basic services to the citizens.
Say that again.
94 additional exempt and management people, and 255 less union people and people who are the direct service providers. Now, some of that is because of what we did with consolidating the health department into the county, privatizing the trash operation, but it's a lot more than that. We've lost a lot of people. And what I use is our IT department, which has 5 or 6 management people to manage 8 additional people. That's outrageous.
Is that system-wide, however? And I would think that once you start privatizing, the effect of the privatization would naturally be the reduction in workforce.
It is. I'm recognizing that some of those 255 are the fact that they are now private employees.
So how many of those 255 were directly related to, for instance, the trash?
Trash, I understood, was about 100 people that got moved either into other parts in the city or actually went to the new employer, the new trash provider.
Okay, so
Public Services.
So half of, a little less than half of that number was related to the privatization of the trash.
Oh, yes,
pickup.
yes.
Okay.
So.
All right.
And you know, with so many management levels, it's also getting in the way of us working effectively. The employees that are trying to do a good job, when you have to go through these extra levels of management, it shouldn't be a difficult process for us to talk to our directors in departments of only 30 and 40 people. They should respect those of us. I mean, I'm talking about a union who are professionals and technical people. They should respect what we bring to it. The management people may not have that background, and I'm not seeing that. I know it's not happening in city government.
I just want to make this one point clear, though, about the reduction of jobs. Is it fair to say that some of those people who lost their jobs were able to find jobs in other parts of the city or with the companies that were privatized with?
Absolutely.
So they were not, all of those people did not lose their
fact,
employment.
Even in our management, in our union, we only had one person who was actually laid off out of work for several months, but even he got rehired when a position became available that he was qualified for.
Okay, we're going to go away for a second. Will you stay with me?
Certainly.
All righty then. We will go away for just one moment, but we'll be right back.